Greg, we're about to listen to Frankenstein. Are you ready to get Bavarian Gothic?
I certainly am, Mary. And first up, I have to congratulate you on that magnificent podcast win, your International Podcast Award, the Women in Podcasting Award, Best Fiction for your wonderful seasons of Girls' Night Out, the podcast. A must listen for all our listeners.
Well, thank you very much. It was very thrilling to get that award, I must say. So, thank you
Well,
for saying that.
well done, well done, and it's got a terrific cast. And speaking of fiction, in regards to Frankenstein, I just wonder if we're going to have a monster lurch from a secret laboratory and terrorize the neighborhood. My money's on yes.
I
So
do, I
let's,
do hope so.
yes. Otherwise, you and I are going to be very surprised. Okay.
Let's go.
Autolite and its 98,000 dealers bring you Mr. Herbert Marshall in tonight's presentation of Suspense.
Tonight, Autolite presents a new radio adaptation of one of the most famous suspense stories ever written, Mary Godwin Shelley's Frankenstein. Our star, Mr. Herbert Marshall.
Oh, hello, Victor.
Hello, Mary. The Reverend in?
Out in the garden as usual. Do you want me to call him?
No, thanks. I'll go out.
Well, all right. Tell him not to get too dirty. We're supposed to play croquet with the McDonald's at 5.
I'll tell him.
When's Elizabeth coming home?
Tomorrow or Tuesday, I think.
You'll both have to come over for dinner.
Love to Mary.
I'll see you later.
Hi. Oh, you're just in time to give me a hand. Whew. Oh, these Indian summers, hot, too sticky.
James, I got to talk to you.
Well, of course. What, anything wrong? You know, you haven't looked too good for the past month or so. Something on your mind?
Yes.
Oh, well, then. Let's go in the house. I'll get you a beer. We can talk.
No, not in the house. Do you mind if we walk?
Oh, of course not. Oh, wait a moment. I put my pipe over here. There we are. Might get some rain. Hope so. I won't have to play croquet. Asinine game.
James?
Oh, look now, we're friends. You know you can speak to me. What's the matter? One of your patients die? You made a mistake, perhaps?
No, nothing like that. Perhaps it's worse. I'm not sure.
Has it anything to do with Elizabeth going away?
In a way, yes.
Oh. My favorite place. You know, Victor, I think of most of my sermons standing here looking across the valley. Lovely, isn't it? Got a match? Oh, thanks.
Listen, I've been doing an experiment. It's very complicated. And I've almost finished.
Well, that's wonderful.
I think I'm a little afraid of it. I don't know. I've tried to think it out myself. I can't find the answer.
Go on.
You believe in God, don't you?
Oh,
I mean, because I don't go to church, you don't think that I don't believe, do you?
I don't think that at all. You're a good man.
I want you to promise me something. You've got to promise that you'll never breathe a word of what I'm about to tell you.
You have my word.
You swear?
I don't usually break my word.
Oh, I'm sorry. Look, I've made something. It's tremendous. It's impossible. But I think I've done it. And it goes against everything you believe, James.
What? What have you done?
I've made a thing.
I don't understand.
I put it together. Heart, brain, nerves, muscle, everything. I've done it. Now do you understand? A complete body.
And you're upset because of that? You think that you've done something wrong?
But
Oh, you're a surgeon. If what you've done will help to save a life, if you've learned more about the human body, this experiment can't be wrong. It can only do good. Oh, I shouldn't worry.
Last night, I made it move. I'm not certain, but I think I can give it life. Absolute life. Now do you see why I'm afraid? I've created a man.
I'd better call Mary. She'll be worried.
All right, but...
I won't say anything. Hello. Mary? No, I'm with Victor. Listen, dear, I'm afraid we'll have to put off the McDonald's. Yes, I know. Well, Mary, I have something very important to discuss with Victor. It can't wait. Yes, dear. No, don't wait supper. I'll have something over here. Yes, I will. Goodbye.
You don't have to see this thing if you don't want to, James.
What is it?
In my lab. I had an addition built on. I'm the only one who has a key.
I don't say I believe what you've told me, but how do you know you can make it live? I mean, is it anything more than galvanic action?
You'll see.
Why lock it?
I always do.
Oh. Is that the addition over there?
Yes.
Dark.
There aren't any windows. It's better that way. Before I show you, I want to explain. This is what started it. It was mostly an accident. One of the kids brought in his dog. It had been run over, killed. He wouldn't believe it was dead. Expected me to bring it back. I gave it a shot in the heart. And then another with this stuff. A compound I've fooled with for a long time.
Yes?
The dog came back to life. Just for a moment.
How do you know the dog was dead?
No, it was. It had been for 2 hours. All that happened 3 years ago.
You've been experimenting on things ever since?
Yes.
It's wrong.
I don't know.
No, it's wrong.
You don't have to stay, James.
What are you going to do? Try to bring it to life?
I've got to. I've got to try.
Then why did you come to me?
I wanted to tell you. I had to tell someone you're my friend.
I'm a minister. I preach and believe in the word of God.
Do you want to see it?
No. No, I don't, but I must.
It's not terrible to look at. I've done a pretty good job on it. But it isn't quite finished. I'm not quite done with the face.
Oh, my...
Well?
No, Victor. Bury it. Let it be at peace. Don't do it. Even if you can, and I can't imagine it possible, don't even try.
Do you realize what it would mean to me, to the world?
Standing here with you, looking at that, it's easy to imagine anything. I don't want to. Put it to rest, Victor. Forget it.
That's just it. I can't. Not until I find out one way or the other. Watch.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to show you what happened last night.
I don't want to see. I don't care.
I know better.
Oh, listen to me, Victor. This mustn't go on. You've got to stop it.
Not yet. Not until I find out.
Does Elizabeth know what you're doing?
No.
Why did you send her away?
I didn't want her here when I made the last test.
Because you're ashamed. You know it's wrong. You know what she'd think.
I'm not ashamed. I think I'm a little frightened at the incredible greatness of what I've done. It's bigger than anything since the world began.
If it moves, if you prove your point to me, will you stop then? Will you destroy it? The formulas, whatever papers you have, destroy all of it, will you?
I don't know. Hand me that hypodermic, will you?
No.
All right. There.
If I say I believe you, Victor, if...
You don't have to be afraid of it. It couldn't hurt you, you know. There's only enough of this stuff to stimulate a small portion of its brain.
I'm not afraid of it. I'm afraid for us all. I've never preached to you, Victor.
It moved its left foot last night. Then the right. I'm going to try the arm now. Move the light over, please. Thanks. Watch carefully. Only takes a few seconds. Now.
Look. Look. It's hand.
I know. That's the way it was yesterday. The movement only lasts for a moment, though. That's all.
I don't know what to say. I don't even think I understand what I've seen, except that it's terrible.
Because you don't understand, or because of what it means?
I'm afraid, if you like. I'm afraid for you, for what you've done. That thing lying there, you've got no right. I won't allow... What's that?
What?
Listen.
Stethoscope. It's impossible. There wasn't enough.
It's breathing, Victor. What have you done? The thing's alive.
It didn't have enough. It couldn't have. 10 cc. 10 yesterday. Unless the drug was accumulative. Maybe that's it.
His eyes are open. What are you going to do?
Now, listen to its heart again.
It's got to be destroyed. You've got to put an end to it. It's inhuman. Don't you see what you're doing? You can't give it a soul.
How do you know?
You can't give it...
How do you know what I can give it? I've given it life, haven't I? It sees, it breathes, moves, perhaps hears. Yes. Does it hear? Ha! Look, did you see that? It blinked, the head jerked. It hears. It's aware of sound. Does it feel pain?
Don't, Victor. It's not an animal. You've formed it like a man. Give it the dignity of one. I won't let you do that to it.
I've gone this far, James.
Put down the scalpel.
What are you going to prove by that?
I think you must be mad.
I don't interfere with your work, James. Why?
There's someone at the door.
Yes. I think I'd better strap it down on the table. You won't forget your promise, will you?
I'm sorry I gave my word. I'm sorry you ever told me about this. I feel I'm as guilty as you are now.
Well, whatever took you so long? Hello, James.
Hello, Elizabeth.
Darling, I tried to call from the station, but the line's out of order.
Oh, I'm sorry, dear. Did you have a nice time?
Lovely. Everybody sends their love.
That's good.
What have you two been up to? How's Mary, James?
Oh, very well, thank you.
What a fine pair of sober sides you are. What did you do, darling? Break one of my good dishes? I knew I shouldn't have left you alone. Well, what are we standing in the hall for? Let's go in the
Elizabeth, I must be going. Mary will be wondering, particularly if the phone's out of order.
It's raining very hard.
Oh, no, I'll be all right.
You'll take an umbrella. There's one in the kitchen.
Are you going to tell her?
No,
You won't unstrap it from the table, will you?
not yet.
All right, I'll try to come back later. I want to think.
About what?
You've changed since you came to see me this afternoon. You really don't care what I think now, do you?
I suppose not. Thanks anyway, James.
Are you going to let it live?
That's funny from you. Have I the right to kill it?
You've already done something you had no right to do. Something that you don't even understand. The creation of man isn't your job, it isn't mine. Oh, I know your bright scientific mind's laughing
Here's
at me.
the umbrella, James. But I wish you'd wait until the storm blows over.
No, I really must get back. Thank you, Elizabeth. I'll return it tomorrow. Goodbye.
Well, what's the matter with him? Have you been arguing religion again, Victor?
No, dear. Look, I'm doing a little work in the lab. It's rather important. Do you mind?
What is going on, Victor? There's something.
No, dear, nothing at all. There isn't.
I know there is. What's the matter?
Nothing, dear, really. I've got to get back to work now. It broke the straps. It got off the table. It broke the straps. It's just standing there looking at me. What do I do? Talk to it? What do I say? Can it understand I've done it? I've done it? It's almost perfect. Muscular control. Coordination. I wish I'd finished the face, though. It must be terribly strong. That's odd. It's not over average size. Now what? Can you understand what I say? Do you feel any pain? Are you hungry? I'm a man like you. You are a man. Do you understand? Here. This is a mirror. You can see yourself in it. Look. It's all right. It's all right. It's angry. But it doesn't show anger in its face. There's emotion, though. It sees ugliness and is afraid. I'll have to get it back on the table, put it to sleep. That's the best way. Then use a stronger strap or chain. The eyes, just staring. They seem watery. What a marvel it is, though. I want you to come over here and sit down. Do you hear me? Come here and sit down. Come here. No, don't touch that. No, stop it. Stop it. Put it down.
Upstairs. What's happened to you? Who broke the window?
The window.
Oh, Victor. What's the matter, dear? What's happened?
Did you see anyone?
No. Did someone break in?
Elizabeth, don't ask me any questions. Just do what I ask. Get your coat on.
But why?
I'm taking you over to the Gibsons. I want you to stay there.
Oh, why? Why? What is it? Oh, Victor, please.
I can't tell you about it now. You may have to stay there all night. Hurry, please.
We've got to call the police.
No, they'll shoot it. I don't want that. It's just frightened, that's all.
Oh, being a fool, Victor. Do you realize what it means? That thing roaming about the country? What about the children, everybody in the village? I'm going to get the police.
No, please, James. Give me a chance to find it first.
Then what? You do a few more experiments, give it speech, perhaps, and it happens again?
It's mine. I made it.
I'm not thinking of that now. It's Mary and your wife. We don't even know where it is. If it wants to kill, how do you know where it will start?
All right. Just give me an hour. Let me try to find it before we call the police. If I do, I'll take it back and destroy it myself.
Do you give me your word?
Yes.
All right. I'll go with you.
Thanks, James.
I'll get my rifle. Do you have a gun?
Yes. But I'm not going to use it unless it...
Yes, unless. That's why I'll take mine. Shan't be mount. It's getting dark. Where do you think it might have gone?
It's hard to tell. It's afraid of thunder. It might be hiding in the barn.
The old Hamilton place?
Yeah.
How are you going to catch it? Have you thought of that?
I brought along a hypodermic.
You're not afraid anymore, are you?
No.
That's strange, because I am. Not of what it might do to me, but because of the fact that I've seen it. I know it exists.
There's the barn. If it's in there, there's no way out the back way. It was boarded up, wasn't it?
Yes.
I'll go in. Wait out here, will you?
No, I'm coming with you.
No. If it's in there, if it tries to escape, shoot it as it comes out.
Oh, don't take the chance. It won't let you get near.
I'm going to try. Thanks, James. I lied. I am afraid. And if it's in here, hiding, waiting for me, I am afraid. I should have destroyed it. James was right. Well, what's the matter with this flashlight? Wet. Ah, that's better. What's that? In the corner. I won't hurt you. It's all right. I understand. I won't hurt you. Don't be frightened. It's going to be all right. You'll hardly feel this. It won't hurt.
Victor! Victor!
Did you shoot it?
I'm not sure. I might have hit it. I don't know.
It's gone?
Yes, are you? Victor. Victor. Oh, Victor. He never recovered consciousness again. Outside, I looked for the thing I'd shot at, but there was no sign of it. I returned to the lab and burnt every paper, destroyed every single evidence of Victor Frankenstein's terrible experiment. But the result of that experiment has never been found, nor have I been able yet to convince the authorities that such a thing ever existed.
Greg, we've listened to Frankenstein. What did you think?
Well, I thought it was great fun, if that's the word. A little bit scary, but it was certainly Frankenstein Goes to Hollywood. It's as if the producers of the Suspense radio play series had asked the scriptwriter, "Have you ever read Mary Shelley's novel Frankenstein?" No? Well, don't bother. Base your play on whatever movies you've seen with that monster, because by the time that this show went to air, that's the play went to air in 1952, there have been so many Frankenstein movies, including Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Yeah, yeah, and a few naughty ones as well in the sort of soft porn space, but we won't go into
Oh,
that.
no, goodness me. No, look, uh,
Don't ask me how
wait
I
a second.
know that.
No, no, please. I just, I might have to dab my forehead. Oh my God, the shock. Tell me, don't tell me.
Clutch,
However,
clutch your pearls, Greg.
that's right. Pass me the smelling salts. The in regards to that, I did look up how many movies have been, associated with Frankenstein. The first one came out in 1910, and I've got to say that I counted up to 100, and then I stopped because there's about another 100 to go. There are so heck of a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
movies.
It's an inspiring piece, let's face it. It's a great story. I mean, it's often listed as one of the great 100 great novels of all time. So, Mary Shelley sort of knocked it out of the park with this.
Mm.
But yeah,
And
it has been, I think, watered down a bit in cinema, or certainly distorted, is the way I would put it.
Well, yes, and but as you and I have discussed in the past, one of the challenges that the scriptwriter faces is that they have to condense, in this case, a very nuanced novel into 30 minutes or less, and it's quite a challenge. So it's a, shall we say, a light touch in regards to the original plot.
Indeed. So, first off, I think I really enjoyed some of the voice acting in this. So we have Herbert Marshall as Victor Frankenstein, and when you look into his past or his background, he's quite an interesting man. Did you check him out?
I did, yes. Herbert Marshall. He was a one-legged ladies' man with a very refined voice, with a touch of the playwright Noel Coward. A leading man in Hollywood in the 30s and 40s. Amongst his paramours were Barbara Stanwyck, Greta Garbo, Marlene Dietrich, Joan Crawford, Betty Davis. There's a boy who got around, that may have had
That's
one
quite a
leg.
lineup. That's quite a lineup.
Yeah. And was it five wives and three divorces?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't do the math on that, but
No.
let's just say maybe it's five wives, three divorces. Does that mean he remarried one of them,
I, I,
or
I
did they
think
must have
I think
died?
I think one of them, shall we, as we say in Australia, one of them might have left the tent,
Yes, one of them
and
might have left the
and
tent.
one and well, and one of them he may have, may have she may have been in situ, perhaps when he died.
Mm,
So when he finally died.
yeah,
His leg was amputated when he was shot in the knee by a German sniper in World War One. Uh,
yeah.
and I believe
Sounds like a heck of a guy.
yes, busy boy, busy
Busy
boy.
boy.
That's a life. That's a life.
Yeah,
Uh,
and
uh,
not just voice acting work, but lots of film work as well, despite having
yes,
an amputated leg. So the man must have had charisma plus.
he did. And when you watch him on YouTube, he seems a little old school, but that was the style.
Yeah, yeah. And then we've got Joseph Kerns as James, the sensible James pastor. He was a pastor, right?
That's correct, the
Who
Reverend.
is, the voice of reason, kept saying, put it to rest many times.
Mm,
And he was also an interesting actor. He was Mr. Wilson in Dennis the Menace. Did,
mm.
yeah. Did you watch that show?
I did. I used to love Dennis the Menace.
Yeah, Mr. Wilson was
I,
pretty great actually.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I had to look up Joseph Kearns, and he
Mm.
does have a grumpy sort of look about him, so he must have been perfectly cast.
He was. He was also he provided the voice of the doorknob in the 1951 animated Disney film Alice in Wonderland. How's that for a credit on your IMDb page? On the same subject, there's the actor who played the monster, Paul Frees. Now, Freeze was a true voice artist. So heaven knows why he took on this thankless role in Frankenstein, because he did the voice of multiple Disney projects on TV and at Disneyland with those animatronics. And he
Right.
was the voice of Boris Badenov in Rocky and Bullwinkle, the animated series. And all he gets
Boris.
to do, Boris, and all he does here is, and you're better at this than me, growl. He sort of,
Yeah. Oh, he doesn't actually, I don't think he says a word, or an English
no,
word. Does he? No,
no,
no.
no. I think he'd admit he didn't get the best lines in this play. And then we have Paula Winslow, who played Mrs. Frankenstein, who is best known for a role as the voice of Bambi's mother in the 1942 animated
Oh,
movie Bambi.
oh.
So,
That
oh, poor
immediately
Bambi.
makes me sad. We've got here some wonderful Foley, Greg. So I don't know whether you did you notice the wonderful sound effects in this? Because I was
Oh,
just lapping it up. It was delicious.
well, there were two of them that stood out. I thought there was one in the laboratory, and there was the one in the, is it a barnyard or somewhere like that, where the sound effects were terrific, very
Yeah.
evocative.
Yeah, there was sort of cows and birds and whatnot in the farm. This is this wonderful laboratory sounds, instruments, bottles, bubbling beakers of strange concoctions. It was fantastic.
Uh, I totally agree. I love the sound of a bubbling beaker and the hiss of a Bunsen burner. It reminds me of those chemistry classes as a boy at school.
Were you bringing a stitched up corpse back to life?
No, surprisingly not. I'm afraid the Jesuit priests who taught me, they may have been surprised, but they were rather pragmatic about these matters, and they probably would have tried to convert the creature. And in the book, of course, the creature is 8 foot tall, and although he's certainly no Brad Pitt in the looks department, and in fact on Tinder he might have needed a little bit of AI imaging to freshen up his features, he wasn't quite the monster in inverted commas that comes across in this play.
Yeah, absolutely. And on cinema. So in the novel, he's Victor Frankenstein put some effort in to give him a fine face. So he was not ugly. And he was also quite well spoken. That's the other thing that's substantially different about the book. But we digress once again, right?
Oh, well, not necessarily, because it's we're contrasting the book with the play.
Yeah, true,
One
true.
and true, and one of the things I liked about the book is that, and how can I put this delicately? Because I know how sensitive you are about these matters, but I think the Frankenstein in the novel had his needs, if you know what I mean,
Oh,
and
yes.
that he wanted Victor to create a Mrs. Monster for him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's a reasonable request.
That's right. You know,
No one else
you're
seems
looking
to
for
like me. Everyone's recoiling from me, so I need some companionship.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so and who else is going to whip together an 8 foot woman made out of animal parts and dead human bits and pieces?
Yes.
Only Victor.
Only Victor. So we've talked about the novel a bit, and I guess,
Yeah.
the writer is Mary Shelley. For those listeners who haven't read this novel, would you agree, Greg? I think this is a must read. It's not actually a very large novel, but it is just such a good story. And Mary Shelley wrote this when she was 18.
I know, remarkable, remarkable. No, it's been a long time since I've read it, and I'm not too clear, but a little fuzzy on some of the details, but I'm certain it wasn't quite like the play we've just listened to. But I do recall that back in 1816, Mary and her romantic poet husband Percy Bysshe Shelley and another poet, Lord Byron, and one of their pals. They were holidaying together in Europe. The weather was so bad, they had a competition to see who could write the best horror story. And Mary produced Frankenstein, a stunning book with lots of layers in it. And she called it the modern Prometheus, Prometheus being the Greek god of fire.
Yeah, yeah. And so she published it anonymously in Paris, first of all. She wasn't confident that it would be published in England. And it was just taken off the shelves. It whisked off the shelf so rapidly. And so then she published it in the UK under her name the next year. And it's been like a solid bestseller ever since. But it's considered to be the first novel in the science fiction genre.
Is it? No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so written in 1818, I think, or published in 1818.
That's
It
right. Yep.
is considered the first science fiction novel. It obviously has horror elements to it as well, but the science is galvanism.
No, I know nothing. So, as in galvanized in some way, or is that galvanized steel? No, what's galvanism? Tell me.
Yeah, it's similar. Galvanizing something requires this process. So you need electricity, and
Hmm.
it's the what they were investigating in the 1700s and early 1800s that were fascinated with it was what happened if you ran an electrical current. Well, first of all, they were looking at how different elements behaved with that, and that's, the one you're talking about, galvanized steel, etc. But they
Hmm.
also noticed that if they put electric current through something that was dead, like a frog or something like that, or a fish, it actually reanimated the muscle.
Right.
And so they not understanding, how muscle works, and we know more about that now. They thought that they were actually shooting life into this dead flesh. So there was and it got caught up in a whole bunch of other studies like anatomy and alchemy and galvanism are kind of like three dark arts that were being investigated. And this one is galvanism.
Right. And is there a Frankenstein who plays a part in the actual galvanism story?
A real Frankenstein. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a castle called Frankenstein Castle.
Uh-huh.
And
Right.
the guy who's so just to backstep a bit. So
Yep.
Mary Shelley and her traveling companions were held up in a town called Gersheim while the weather was just horrendous because they were traveling in the winter through
Yep.
Germany. And about 4 or 5 kilometers away from Gernsheim, I should say, was a castle called Frankenstein Castle
Aha.
in Bavaria. And they went to visit it because it was architecturally quite a splendid castle, although a bit crumbly. And the person who took them through it told them about one of the prior occupants, a gentleman called Johann Conrad Dippel.
Hmm.
So now he was known for experimenting in alchemy, galvanism, and anatomy. And there were rumors in the village while he was living there that he used to send his staff out to dig up recently buried bodies and bring the bodies back so that he could experiment with galvanism on these bodies. So
No.
yes,
Naughty, naughty man.
naughty, naughty. But you can see how that might have been a bit of an inspiration for,
Yeah.
yeah, for Frankenstein.
Ah. Oh, it's great. No, I didn't know any of that. That's a terrific backstory there.
Yeah.
And speaking of stories, and I'm not certain, as I said, long time since I read the book, so I'm not certain if these were taken from these lines were taken from the book, but in the radio play there are some intriguing moments. For example, when Frankenstein says to the Reverend, "I've made a thing," which is a somewhat open-ended remark. So no wonder the Reverend's puzzled. I mean, what did he make? A Persian love cake or a Greek salad? I mean, who knows? But then comes as you pointed out, then the Reverend, who's always coming up with these sort of, do this, don't do that. The Reverend says to Victor, "It can only do good. I shouldn't worry." Now, you know, in one of these plays, that's a red flag right there. As soon as they say, don't worry, everybody's in trouble, including the listener.
Yeah, that's right. That's the rule of horror, isn't it? You know,
Yes, that's
we
right.
can't possibly have this happen. Next
That's
scene,
right.
it's happening.
That's right. My God, there's a thunderstorm outside, lightning set, and I think I see somebody out there with a knife. I'll take this candle and go out and have a look. Nothing can go wrong. That's a horror approach. With
Elizabeth.
Miss Elizabeth Frankenstein. Well done. Well, good pick up there. She was perpetually chirpy. I've got to say, there's a person who knows how to bounce into the room and bring joy and sunshine, despite the fact that just down the corridor there's this mad creature who's been created by a husband out of chunks of flesh. The scriptwriter Anthony Ellis did a workmanlike job with the plot, with such a multi-layered novel. But he wrote for TV as well. He did scripts for The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and Gunsmoke, and I did like The Man from U.N.C.L.E. I thought it was so cool.
Oh yeah. Which character did you like better?
I quite like the Russian guy. Who was the
Ilya
blonde?
Kuryakin.
Oh, look, your memory amazing. That's
My
it.
sister and I were in love with him.
I,
So the adaptation has to take a novel and squeeze it into a 30-minute format with intro and
mm,
outro. So we know that's pretty challenging. And I think he did, a solid job on that. We know there's some distortions, and those distortions in the story, he would have been influenced by all the films that have been made, no
yes,
question. But
no question.
I think that he gets to the well, so I think he hits the main plot points of what happens in the novel. Would you agree?
I think so, including at the end. Now, I do recall that at the end of the novel, I know this isn't precisely the same, but the monster runs off to somewhere with a lot of ice and snow, and an Arctic exploring a ship that's been going to explore the Arctic has been trapped in the pack ice, and somebody on board sees the mad monster running and Victor chasing him. And I believe Victor dies, as he does in this one, and the monster disappears.
Yeah, yeah, because Victor's made the monster in such a way that, the cold does nothing to him. So
Right.
he's going to win that foot race for sure.
That's
Especially
right.
being 8 foot
Well,
tall is
wow,
that's a
got
long
a good. You
stride.
can get a good lope up, although the character in the play is a bit shorter. Yes.
Now I have one question for you, Greg.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, so we've got this Johann Conrad Dippel, and
Hmm.
one of the other things that Johann did, dabbled in, what Dippel dabbled in was
Yes.
the with his alchemy and galvanism and whatnot, is he created something called Dippel oil, which he said was
Hmm.
the elixir of life. So my
Yeah.
question to you, Greg, is what
Yes.
is your Dipple oil?
Well, I think my dipple oil might be a tipple. Uh, it comes 6 o'clock at night, no matter what the weather. I'm always happy to have one of the more approachable and entry level Irish whiskies, such as Jameson, mind you. Given your heritage, Canadian Club also goes down well. So I think that's a sad commentary on me, Mary. I imagine you'll be doing something much more, uh, something a little less predictable.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that a good whiskey is really a nice cross between embalming fluid and probably something like a health
Wow,
tonic. So,
excellent! I hope it is embalming fluid. I could certainly do with some. I can assure you.
good night, Greg.
Good night, Mary.